If starting feels hard, remember momentum doesn't come from doing lots of things. It comes from doing one small thing consistently. Let's talk about it. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are on episode 11. This is week 3 of Dream Life season. I am again so excited to be here. I'm Kimberly Cox, your host. And this week we are talking all about momentum and like the tiny momentum and the tiny ways of doing things to keep things moving consistently. So let's jump into your fantastic 15. Okay, welcome to your fantastic 15. I want to take a few minutes to talk about gratitude. We are going to think of 2 to 3 small things that we are grateful for, that we are consistent in. Okay. If you're a parent, this can be something as consistent as I feed my kids on a regular basis, right? I do the dishes. I get my kids in bed at night. Whatever those little things are that you know that you do with intention, right? And we have reasons, right? We feed our kids because they need to be fed, but also because we know that when we feed them, one, it's going to be a lot less messy and they're going to get the right mix of nutrition and they're going to get different foods and all of that, right? So, everything that we do, when we do it with intention, okay, and then we consistently do it, that adds up. Those building blocks stack and they add up to what is a consistent form of momentum that keeps us going and makes things happen. So, what are a couple of things that you are grateful for? They can be in your family, they can be in your personal life. So for me, one of mine is even though it hasn't been super consistent, I have been weekly recording, right? Or weekly recording these, whether I batch a bunch in one day or whether I record, the night before. We're still doing the thing. So that is one thing that I am very, very grateful for is the continued momentum of taping these episodes. Another thing that I am grateful for is continuing to do my morning routine. And I know that both of those probably sound a little bit selfish. I'm not really on the kid side of things and stuff like that, or the family side of things. And I think that we're in different seasons at different times. And so this season right now is about me getting this part of my life all situated so that I can start giving to the other areas more regularly and still have a consistent basis for this area to keep the momentum going. So, those are 2 things that I am grateful for. Let me know in the comments, drop them in the comments. What are you grateful for? What small, tiny actions are you grateful for? We are going to roll with our deep breathing video and then we will get back into inspiration in a minute. Welcome back, welcome back. So, I want to take a minute and we're going to talk about the snowball effect in a little bit in the person in ring 2, the center ring. But I wanted to give you guys just a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of a like think about it this way kind of thing, right? Point of view, if you will. So, I think a lot of times we try to bite off way more than we can chew. And then we get frustrated because we feel like we have all this stuff, we're behind, we're this, we're that. And I can even say that a little bit for Dream Life season. I have not gotten consistently everything up. We are working on getting caught up on all back episodes, and I was going to let them go, and I'm not going to. I'm going to get everything up. It may not be in the order that I thought it was going to be in, but that's okay because it's obviously coming up when it needs to come up. So I'm leaning into the trust that by doing the things I said I was going to do, whether they're a little bit late or not, we're still going to accomplish our goal. That being said, I feel like sometimes it takes us doing something as simple as I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. I'm going to record the intro to one episode. I'm going to do dishes for 5 minutes. I'm going to take a 5 minute walk, right? When we can do things for a small period of time, a lot of times we will find that we are more on board to do them for a little bit longer and we get more benefit out of it. But if we think that we have to do the whole thing or nothing, right? It's that all or nothing black and white thinking that a lot of us struggle with. When we are in that space where we think that we have to do, 30 minutes of walking, or, you may as well not because it doesn't really matter, that is not a good place to be in. Because if we can do 5 minutes of walking and then that doesn't feel bad, and maybe we want to continue. And so we continue for another 5 minutes, and then maybe we do another 5 minutes. And before you know it, we've done 20 minutes, whereas we wouldn't have done any if we didn't do it at all, right? So think about ways that you can take bigger things and, chop them down, right? Maybe it's the time frame that you really need. Maybe it's okay, I'm going to do dishes for 5 minutes. I'm going to fold these clothes for 5 minutes. I'm going to take one load out to the trash can, right? To the dumpster. Like whatever it is, try it, do it, and allow yourself to stop after that because at least you did something. If you're still not on board with it, if you're still exhausted, if you're still not feeling like doing it, take a break. Let it go. It'll be okay. But if you're ready to jump into it and you're like, okay, I can do this. I see where we're going. This is, this feels good. I don't want to stop. Then don't stop. And I think that in itself, allowing ourselves to take a tiny bit and try it and see if we feel like we can do more. That takes the pressure off of us to do all of it. And if I did 5 minutes, right? Let's say I did 5 minutes of dishes, or let's say what I usually used to do with myself is I would say I'll do 20 dishes. I will get 20 dishes rinsed off and put in the dishwasher. Okay. And then I would go and I would do all the silverware because that's super easy, right? But because that was so easy, then I would be like, oh, well, that wasn't that hard. Okay, well, what else can I do? And I do a couple of plates and I do a glass and I do something else. And before you know it, all of it's done because I was like, oh, well, that was easy. Oh, well, that was easy. But I had to get myself into the place where instead of seeing the huge mess, I was just focusing on the task at hand and getting that done. Now, if I did all the silverware and then was like, okay, I'm really tired, I'm hurting, something's wrong, I need to go sit, I could go sit, but I'd have that much less to do later on that day, the next day, whatever. So it never hurts us to do a little bit and chunk that down and get a little bit shaved off of that big picture, right? Versus not doing anything. And then the next day, not only do you feel like, oh my goodness, I have all this stuff to do, but now you feel like, okay, and I didn't do it yesterday. So now I have to do it today. And there's more pressure on you. But if you did some of it, then you could be like, well, at least I did some. And since I did some, then that's more than not doing it at all. And I only have a little bit more to go. So that is one of the places, like I said, I feel like neurodivergent people, a lot of times, we are black and white thinking. It all has to be done or nothing. We have to have the whole room spotless, or there's no point in even doing anything. When we can get one area clean, if we can chunk it down to, okay, I'm going to clean the sink, and we get the sink clean, and then we're like, okay, I'm going to clean the toilet, I'm going to clean the tub and the shower. Okay, I'm going to sweep and mop the floor. Like, you can take little bits and pieces of that, and it doesn't feel as overwhelming as if I say, okay, today's the day I got to clean the bathroom, right? So, momentum is all about finding those little things that we can do that will then snowball. And we're going to talk about the snowball in the center ring. For now, let's jump into our move your body segment. Welcome to the move your body section. So we're going to start out with some neck rolls, big rolls. Make sure you're breathing while you're doing this. All right, another big roll. Now we're going to go the opposite way. Big rolls. That's 2. And we're going to do 3 and 4 and 5. All right, now we're going to do shrug shoulders and drop them. Shrug your shoulders up and drop them. All right, shrug your shoulders up, relax. Shrug your shoulders up, relax again. All right. One more time. All right, now we're going to stretch up. Wiggle those fingers, stretch up as high as you can, and down. And we're going to do that again. Stretch, 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 and down. And stretch, 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 up, up, high, high, and down. All right, stretch up one more time, and down. One last time, we're going to stretch, 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 and down. All right, now we're going to stretch up and we're going to go to the right, and then to the center, and then to the left, and then back to the center. We're going to repeat and go to the right, and then the center, and then stretch to the left, and then back to the center, and then down to touch your toes. Hold it there, hold it there, hold it there. All right, roll it back up. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. On to the next segment. We are back with our Fun with Food segment, and I am excited because this week we are going to set the basis and we are going to start working on one health goal per like month, okay? So I know we're almost done with this month, so we're going to kind of get a jump start and we're going to carry this into February. So, but I want you to think of one health goal, okay? It could be losing weight, it could be eating healthier, it can be drinking more water, anything that has to do with health and in the kitchen, right? And I want you to start thinking about that from a place of what is going to make the most difference. Okay, so for a lot of us, it starts with drinking more water. Okay, that is something where I feel like it's easier to do. Um, and I feel like it's a place where we can do this one thing and it's going to help you feel fuller longer. It's going to help you not crave so many of those things, right? Drinking water is going to flush you out. It's going to get you to that place where you're feeling more optimal and not leaning into those cravings as much. It also can help you. It can help you with a lot of things, right? So I want you to think about the one thing. Okay, maybe that's that. Maybe the one thing that you need is to meal prep because maybe you drink a lot of water, but you don't eat regularly. Or when you do eat, you're eating the wrong kinds of foods that aren't fueling your body. So I want you guys to think of the one thing, and then I want you to think about one step that you can do um, as soon as this is over, or you can even pause this. I would much rather you pause this and go do it now if you can. One thing. So if it's drinking water, it go drink a glass of water. If it's meal prepping, then maybe you start making a list of all of the ideas that you have for things that you like, right? So it could be like, okay, I need to make sure there's more salad in the house, or I need to buy a big pack of chicken that I can, grill up and then cut up, and then I can use that as part of my lunches throughout the week. Having an idea, something that you can do. I need to, like, find maybe you're getting bored with what you always do, or maybe you don't even do. Some of us, it's like, okay, I'm going to order out all the time, or I'm going to go run through drive through, or grab something real quick somewhere, right? And so that idea of maybe it's finding healthy options somewhere, right? Look for the healthier options at some of the restaurants and places that you go. Everybody's going to be in a different place, right? And that's fine, because the point is not that we're all doing the same thing together. The point is that we're all doing something that's going to help us feel better and start to move that, like, snowball that effect of feeling better. Because when we feel better, we're going to have more energy, we're going to be able to do more, we're going to feel better overall, and then that's going to bleed into your work life, your kids, your family, your all that kind of stuff is going to feel better because of that. So one small thing, I want you guys to type it in the comments when you have it. I want you to think of the one thing that you can do, or one thing that you want to work on for the next 6 weeks, and then one thing that you can do right now or as soon as this is over, and let us know when you do it. Type in the comments afterwards, reply to your comment and say done. That way you're holding yourself accountable along with all of us to this. Because this is the beautiful thing about this community that I'm building, is we're all in this together. And most of us are going through similar things. Most of us have similar issues with the things that we're going through, whether that's the black and white thinking, whether that's, having trouble with consistent pattern recognition that makes it difficult to, like, see a better area because all you can do is consistently see the same patterns playing out. And because you're recognizing it, you can't really recognize the other side. So we're going to work through all of that in the next 6 to 8 weeks. All right, guys. So, like I said, drop that in the comments and let's get into our first ring. Welcome back. We are on our first ring, home and family. So, I wanted to take a minute and talk about how we can help our kids with these things. Okay, because sometimes I think we get to a space where we so badly want our whole family on board, right? But then we don't know how to do it in a way that is, like, I might say I want to lose weight. I might say I want, to do better at, I don't know, work, at different things like that. And I might not want to take my setbacks, my thoughts, how I feel about things, and put those on my kids, making them feel like, oh, is that what they think? Do I need to lose weight, or do I need to eat healthier, or do I need to? So we have to help The younger ones, it's going to be a little different for. Okay. Maybe the younger ones, we do more of a this is what mom is doing. And, you like, especially if it's like eating healthier, then, you're going to get the benefit of getting to eat healthier along with mom because I'm going to be cooking these foods and this is why we're doing it. And, maybe breaking down, doing the explanations of when we were eating, pizza and burgers and tacos and those kinds of things before, we were using, less healthy ingredients. And I wasn't adding all the things that I could to it. And we weren't getting the proper nutrition. But now we're going to start doing that and teaching your kid what that means. As they get older, you can start letting them find things that they're passionate about, find things that they want to do, right? Do they want to get better at a sport? Do they want to get into some kind of club? Do they want to get better in a subject at school? Do they want to, maybe do a better makeup routine or have a better morning routine or, and really having the conversation with your kids about where do you see things being good about your life right now and where do you see things not being so good, where do you think you could improve or we could improve as a family, right? And then allowing them, like listening to them, and then finding those things that are going to make the biggest difference. Okay. I know sometimes we're tempted to jump onto a tangent that's like, okay, yeah, it's great if we do this, but it's not going to affect other areas as much. When we can find areas where this will affect other areas in our life too, that's where we're going to get the most out of that consistency, right? Sleep is one, right? If sleep is, it's a health one, right? But also, if I'm not tired, I'm going to have an easier time listening. I'm going to be able to concentrate better. I'm going to be able to think better about things. My mood is going to improve. I'm not going to be as negative about things. I'm going to have an easier time thinking on the positive side. And all of those little things, right, stack up and add up. So when you can show them how, okay, like, yeah, maybe you want to get into the sport, and this sport is a good thing, and we can put this on the list to work on, but maybe also on their list is, wanting to get more sleep or not be tired all the time or have more energy or whatever that looks like, be, have more attention, be able to hold their attention, focus longer, things like that. And those are things that we could say, okay, well, what do you think is a problem? Why are you getting pulled away? Is it because you're daydreaming because you're tired? Is it because like we don't have the proper nutrition going in? So that's something. And we start to like be detectives and try to figure out where that's coming from and then find those things and teaching our kids at, somewhat of a young age, right? 12, 13, 14 years old, how to look at these things that way so that when they get to be an adult and they start to have problems and they're like, oh, I'm so tired all the time, I need to figure out why and I need to improve this, area, they're not sitting there going, oh, but this is just the way it's always been and I guess I'm just tired because this or that or whatever, right? We can actively work toward better goals, better things. And a lot of times, I think what happens for neurodivergent families is we get a diagnosis for ourselves, for a kid, for something, and immediately there are a million people out there saying, you need a sleep schedule, you need to cut out this food, you need to not do this thing. And so we have all of this information coming in that other people are saying, oh, this is the cause, and that's the cause, and this is, and I challenge you to take a deep breath and to question everything that everybody is saying And to, if you're able to, if this is a you thing, right? Um, where have you done things differently and felt better? Have you done anything close to what other people are saying? Did you feel better during that time? If you don't have the evidence to show that, then what can you think of? Like, okay, I'm tired, but I'm probably not sleeping very good. So how do we get better sleep? Then we need to work on sleep as our consistency thing, right? So then we start looking at what does that look like? We need to, you know, go to bed at a certain time, wake up at a certain time. We need to have some kind of way to get our brain to calm down a little bit. It's probably never going to completely calm down, but if we're constantly feeding it stuff up until we close our eyes, our brain is still trying to catch up and process that for a while. And we're going to lay there for a while and not be able to sleep because we're still trying to process everything. If we are sedentary and we're not getting out and we're not spending any energy, then we might not feel tired either because we're not really tired because we haven't used up all the energy that we have. So, making sure we're getting some kind of exercise to help and getting it early enough in the day where we can get that peak moment of, okay, like I'm getting what I need to out of this exercise, I'm getting that dopamine and I'm using it. And then we can come down and be like, all right, like now we can calm down, we can sleep, we can do the things. So there's all different areas in this, but just working with your child on things, and maybe it's something like I said, the whole family needs to just do one thing, and then you're working with your kids to show them why this is important and where the differences are supposed to come to play. And then when they notice the differences and you notice the differences in them, then you can bring that up and be like, well, hey, you were able to, to hang out longer, or you were able to wake up earlier, or whatever. And how does that feel? And all of that kind of stuff, right? And if you're doing something where you're like, this is kind of a me thing, I really don't want my family doing it, necessarily having to do it with me, then I would definitely look into, like I said, finding out where they feel like things could be better. Because if you're talking to your kid and they're like, well, this is an area that I'd really like to be better, they're probably going to work harder on that area than if you tell them, I want you to work on this area. Because, yeah, that's just asking for an argument. And we know that about our kids. So let me know, are you going to do a family? Like a family consistency habit? Are you going to talk to your kids and see what they think? And if you feel comfortable, let me know the ages of your kids in the comments so we can kind of see where, maybe we have older kids and, they can eventually do one just for them in the groups. Alrighty. I am going to go into the center ring now. Welcome back. We are talking about the center ring, about our personal lives. And I said I was going to talk about the snowball effect. So, and I think this is something that I know I use this a lot when I don't feel like doing something, but I know I have to. So I think, first of all, in order for this to work really well, you need to have a why for why you're doing things, okay? Because if if I don't have a good why, if my why is just because I'm supposed to, or because somebody else wants me to do this, I'm not going to be as in it because it's not something that I picked. It's not something that I prefer to do well, to do at all. So there is a lot to say about like finding your why for things, and even things we don't want to do. We have whys for them. And yeah, sometimes the whys are because we're supposed to do it, because it's just what we're supposed to do, or it's how we're supposed to be so that we can help our kids to be that way too, right? But inside of that, there's usually something that is a reason for you. Okay. So maybe it's keeping your house clean, and you're like, I want a clean house, but the idea of cleaning from top to bottom every week just sounds exhausting. And I'm burned out already, and I don't really have the energy to do it. And then I have people destroying it all the time. And so we get into this place where we can start to kind of talk ourselves out of it, and our why isn't strong enough in that moment. So our why has to come from something like, because when I go to bed at night, it's easier for me to fall asleep at night when I know things are where they're supposed to be, and we can start the day fresh and everybody knows where things are, and it's just going to make life that much easier. Another one that you can use if you have to as a why is, because then I know I've accomplished things today, and I can go to bed knowing that I've gotten things done that I needed to get done. And, it wasn't a bad day, and I wasn't lazy, and I got stuff done, right? I wouldn't suggest putting all of your emphasis on that, because sometimes if we do that, then when we do have those bad days, um, women, I'm talking to you, when your cycle comes around and those first couple of days, when you just really don't have the energy to do stuff, that can make you, backfire on you and make you feel bad. So just having that in mind, that, maybe that's the jump start that we need after that, right? But we don't want to be cornering ourselves and making things worse, because it's going to be harder for us to get back on board once we have to take a break from it. So, but having that situation where you're like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I know where to find things, and that's less stressful on me. I'm doing it because when everything is done, everybody's in a good mood. It's less chaotic and less stimulating. There's all these different reasons. So you need to figure out what your reason is for wanting to do the thing that you want to do. Okay. So let's say personal life wise, okay? Um, Maybe my personal goal is to start to, like, okay, I will give you my own personal one. My own personal one is to read for fun again. Um, and that can be in different areas, because I do enjoy reading books that I learn things from. So it doesn't just have to be a fiction book, it can be nonfiction, but I'm not reading it with the intent of using it as strategy or learning something that I'm going to put into practice, business, home, whatever. This is something where, okay, I'm learning something, but it's because I want to learn it versus I need to learn it. Um, and so for me, because I don't have a lot of extra time, um, or I do, but then I use it in other ways, right? So for me, it's all about, like, why do I want to do this? I want to do this because I don't want my brain to go into that brain rot category, if you will. I want to be able to be in a space where I am helping build my brain, and I'm helping and doing something where it's not just watching a screen and it's not playing a game. I play games for fun, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if that's all we do, if we're watching screens and we're playing games on screens and we're not doing anything else in that, I feel like that's where we can have problems, right? Because we're still being stimulated that way. And so the other stuff becomes less stimulating and not as enjoyable. It's one thing to listen to an audiobook and read along with it. It's another thing to watch the movie and then feel like, okay, I don't have to read the book because I watched the movie. But there's differences a lot of times between the movie and the book. So, but my why for that is because I want to keep my mind sharp. I want it to keep it from going over into the just let it do whatever mode, right? So that is my why. Sometimes that why is not enough. And then I have to have like a backup why, right? And so sometimes my backup why, and it's different for everything. It might be because I want to know what's going on in this book because I've seen other people talk about it and I want to know. It could be because it looks interesting and I just need to trick myself into like getting into it. And then once I start to really get into the book itself, then I'll want to read it, right? But it's like I want to, but that little beginning sometimes is difficult. So you just got to be like, all right, like you want to do this. Why do I want to do this? Because I want to find out what happens at the end. I want to know what happens in the story. Sometimes my why is because I want my kids to see that I'm doing this so that they don't go, well, you're always online and you're always listening to audiobooks. And why should I have to read a book when you don't read a book? Right. So I have all of these different categories that I can call on when I need them. And then we have to chunk it down, right? So maybe my original chunk was I'm going to read one chapter and I'm like, I don't know about that because like I'm trying, but I keep reading. And if you're anything like most of us with ADHD, you can read that same page over and over again. And because your brain is thinking and processing and doing other things, it can feel like you didn't read any of it and you don't remember it and you got to go back and you keep getting stuck on that same spot. So sometimes we need a little extra boost, right? We need a little extra something to kind of get us going. And so I say to myself, like, okay, you need to read one page. And if you can read one page and you're not feeling it, well then we'll pick up a different book or we'll do a different thing. Another thing that I love doing, I don't have as many of them right now, um, but I love doing like the Sudoku, the actual puzzles, like the magazine ones or the ones that are in crossword books and things like that. And that is doing something to sharpen your brain, but it's not doing it on a screen. And you're actually handwriting the numbers and stuff. So that's another thing that I can kind of lean back on and say, okay, if I can't do this, then we can do this for a little bit. And then we can try to go back to that a different day, a different time, whatever. But having that why and being able to swap things around, right? Having like a secondary. So I'm going to do one page. If that one page is not helping, then I'll move over and I'll do my word search, my not word search, but my Sudoku puzzles, and that still gives me the benefits that I want, at least partially. And then I can like I'm not just giving up, because I think sometimes that's the other side, is we're so used to giving up that we allow ourselves to do that, and then we use the excuse, well, I just have trouble, so I just give up, and it's what I do, and I don't know how to fix it, it's just who I am, right? And so when we give ourselves that excuse, then we are continuing to reinforce the fact that we don't finish things that we start, that we're inconsistent with things. And that is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to break that cycle and be consistent, but in a way that doesn't feel threatening and doesn't feel overwhelming and too much. So I want you to drop in the comments, what is the one thing personal that you are going to do? You don't have to, if it's super personal, you don't have to put it, but just like give us it's in this area or it's in that area or whatever, right? And then I want you to tell me what your why for that is, okay? So let's say you don't really want to tell us that you want to lose 75 pounds. So you're going to put it's in the health category, health and wellness. And I want to do it because I want to feel better, right? Something like that. You're going to give us your why for it. And then we will work on that for the next few weeks, right? And we'll be able to come back to this and we'll be able to, hold each other accountable. Again, we are building this community, which is huge. Alrighty, let's move on to our third ring. Welcome to the third ring. Today, we are talking about tiny, consistent actions, okay? So, this can be a tiny is a relative term, okay? So for me, I have a schedule for days that I record and a schedule for days that I don't record but do other things. And then I have my day or two off, which it's really one day, but then I can also pull on another day and be like, okay, I need a little more off time today. So I have like an errand day that I can pull and, do a little more personal stuff or do a little more, fun stuff on that day. And then I have a family day. So, but my setup does not work if I'm not working it. Okay. And we've seen this happen because I've gotten behind. This is me calling myself out in real time, but also like showing you guys that like this is why this didn't work. And when I can get to a place where I'm steadily doing certain actions, it's going to alleviate that feeling. Okay. So for instance, um, I had a thought of like, okay, I'm going to record these videos on this day and these videos on this day. What that does is that gives me the ability to tell other people, this is my schedule. These are the days that I need to have pretty much the whole day to be able to work my business so that the other days, I can come in and slide in and do the things that I need to do on those days. But because I was consistent on the days that I needed to do things, that helps me be able to have like higher, lower energy days and things like that, right? So I have my actual recording days are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. And so the way that I have it set up is I'm supposed to have everything done for the week by Wednesday. And then on Friday, I start working on the next week's stuff so that I can have like Mondays and Tuesday stuff done by Friday. And then Sunday, um I can work on like Wednesday stuff. I can work on deep dives if I need to. And then on Tuesday, when I record, I can finish up whatever needs to be finished up so that by like Tuesday, Wednesday, we can finish that up and then start it all over again. Um, and if I do that consistently, then I only have to do two two episodes per recording session, and then I can do a deep dive on 3 of those days too. And I will still be caught up with things. Now, if I want to get extra caught up, right? I want to do a little bit more, then I can figure that all out within there and say, okay, like maybe we'll pull Mondays this, Tuesdays that to get a little ahead according to my schedule, right? So I can look and I can see where, okay, like maybe this week is just a normal week, but maybe next week I need, like this week I was supposed to take yesterday off, which I did anyway. Uh, but that being said, um, I didn't have anything go up either. So if I would have, done it the way that I had it set up, I would have had that stuff done early so that we could have done the things that we had planned on doing, or I could have just taken the day off, right? Um, but setting yourself up with those things to do on certain days for your business, but then also having a day or so that's a catch up day, and then having an order in which you do things. Okay. And this all works hand in hand because maybe, maybe I'm in this space where I don't feel like I can give all of my energy to recording a whole episode. But what I can do is I can come in and I can record a bunch of hooks for the episodes. I can get ahead on some of the things. I can create another deep breathing video. I can do some of the other stuff that's on a different level. I can do voiceovers to things that need voiceovers, which we are going to get into some voiceover stuff eventually. Um, the in the kitchen part until I can get my kitchen set up, which I'm so excited. I've like got things figured out now so that we can start doing recipes and stuff like that on there probably by March. That is my fingers crossed. By March we'll be able to start doing recipes and things like that because I will have everything I need set up. But I have to purchase those things, and that means I have to make the money to purchase those things. So that being said, I also have gotten to a place where I've realized that this is so doing the morning show is something that I need to do for myself because I know there's people out there that want it, that need it, that once they know it's out there, once they feel comfortable, will watch it every morning, right? However, it's leaving me feeling a little bit bored at times because I don't feel as creative because things are kind of cut and dry and everything's the same and we have the same layout. And I knew I was going to get bored with it. So there are some things that we're going to do, like I said, to kind of switch some things up. But also, um, I had a moment the other day where I felt like part of my thing is I don't talk a whole lot. I talk about myself, but I don't talk about my story as much as I talk about just like day to day things that are current. So I am going to start making some extra creative videos on the side that are going to be layered in to tell my story, which I'm excited about because I get to, like I said, I get to be more creative. I get to do more storytelling and I get to work it from a different angle than maybe I would have even 6 or 8 months ago because I feel like I'm way more on the other side of things now to where I can see the why in things and I can see how what was meant to break me, what was meant for bad, what was meant to be something to hold me back or keep me from reaching my potential has propelled me rather than holding me back. So I'm excited to do those. And so I am strategically sprinkling those throughout. You need to do this many episodes before you can do one of these. And that's kind of like my reward to myself. That's not like, okay, you get to spend money or okay, you get to eat this thing or whatever. It's more like okay, you get to do these things because this is something that you committed to. This is something that we're doing, even though it's going to feel boring, even though it's going to feel kind of like the same thing on repeat. We're doing this for a reason. And part of the thing is, if you think about it, a lot of times we have to hear things multiple times before it finally clicks that, okay, maybe I need this. Maybe I need to try this. Maybe this is a good idea. Maybe this is whatever. And so, Dream Life season, we've been doing a lot of kind of repeating similar things in different ways in the beginning here because we're trying to lay foundations and we're trying to lay foundations in ways that help us to feel less like somebody is enforcing a foundation on you, and more like you get to pick the things that you're building your foundation with. You get to pick those things so that you're willing to do the things that you need to do to make it stick so that it will stick. And so that on the other side of these things, we are prosperous, moving forward in the right direction that we need to be. When it comes to your business, when it comes to your passion project, when it comes to volunteering, whatever it is, you need to be thinking about these things, okay? You need to be thinking about your why. Why are you doing it? What does this look like? You know, and it's going to be different for everybody, because some people might be like, okay, I'm doing this passion project because I want to help people and I'm not charging. And so therefore, like, I have to figure out ways to, be able to do this thing and still, still support my family, still do the things I need to do, right? Um, Not take away from my family to do it unless I absolutely have it to do it. And so there's things like that. There's things like, if it's a business, and you are actively working it, um, how often are you putting out content or doing whatever it is you need to do? How are you getting your name out there? How are you doing different things? And what is your minimum that you can do and still move forward? For Dream Life season, my minimum is literally 5 days a week. I have to have a video up. Now, I said they could be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, and I would even go a little under that, never under 30 minutes, but we're going to take care of that anyways with all the different segments that we have. That being said, I feel like once I touch on all the things, if it's going to be a shorter episode, then that's fine, because that frees my time up a little bit to create another one. But I also talk off the cuff a lot on these things, because I could have an actual outline and do the whole thing and do everything the exact way. But I feel like that's part of what's special about our morning show. It's not scripted. And because it's not scripted, it's just like bullet pointed, right? These are the things I'm going to talk about in this. And so whatever comes through is obviously the things that the people who are going to watch need when they watch it. And I love that I can lean into that trust that I have, that um, the divine God, the universe is going to help the right people find these episodes at the right time, which is a whole other reason why I'm still creating the back episodes, even though they're not in order, even though they're not going to be, everything's going to be all messed up on the page, and I know it, and I'm fine with it, because I feel like that's part of the, okay, everything needs to be perfect, whatever, that holds me back from doing stuff to begin with. When, in all honesty, if I was just honest with myself and I'm like, okay, if I just do the things I feel like doing when I feel like doing them, when I feel called to do them, then the message is going to come through the right way. It's going to be received the right way. And yeah, I haven't put a whole lot out there as far as um, like really advertising this yet. And that's all going to change after this week. I'm going to start putting shorts on YouTube Shorts and Reels on Instagram, and some TikToks about this. We're going to bring the people over. I am so excited for February, because I feel like February is what we all need. It's going to be all about romanticizing your life. So we're going to have the basis already up. So if people need to go through those and watch the deep dives and get really into creating that foundation for themselves, they can. But they're also going to get that little sprinkle of magic on top with our Romanticize Your Life series that's going to happen in February. So we're romanticizing homeschool, we're romanticizing home, we're romanticizing our morning routines, our evening routines, our sleep time. We are romanticizing our business. We're doing all of this stuff in a way that we are trying to look through the rosiest colored glasses that we can. to bring in that feeling that we want so that we can hold that feeling so that more stuff attracts to that. All right, guys. So I want you guys to tell me, what is one area of your business? What is your business, if you want to put that in there? What's one area that you need to work on, that you need to be more consistent in? And how are you going to chunk that down so that you can do a little bit at a time and snowball it, right? Because if I do a bunch of hooks and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, all right, I'm in a little better place now. Maybe I'll do the intros, and then I do the intros, and then maybe I do like the gratitude section, right? And then I've got, like a third of all of the videos for that week done already. And then I can come back in and I could take a break, I can keep going, I can do more, or or I can start out that way and then I can be like, all right, we're gonna take this episode and we're gonna run it all the way to the end so that I can get it ready to start doing all the things to it. And then I can do it with the next one. And we can snowball that and make those things happen in a way that feels easier than if we were to just look. I will show you guys. I told myself this is brute force this time because I am that far behind. But these are this week's episode, the third week. So today is the Monday episode, even though this will come out on Tuesday. And then after this, I'm going to record the Tuesday episode and the Wednesday episode and maybe the Thursday episode. And then I'm going to get Mondays, Tuesdays up, take a break. And then I'm going to go into Fridays and then last week's stuff. Oh, but we are doing the thing, and we are doing the thing because, like I said, I know that this all needs to happen in the way that it needs to happen. It's out there for life. Anybody can see it at any time. So in 4 or 5 months, when we've been doing this consistently and people just find us, they can go back to the beginning and they can see like our, beginning season. They can see season 1 of Dream Life season and, get in and get that foundation done. And then they can start catching up with everybody else. But alrighty, guys, we are going to wrap this episode up. We did it. We did another episode. We got it. I am so happy, so grateful that you guys are here. I am so grateful that I get to do this. And sometimes, like I said, and I've been saying this throughout the thing, sometimes it feels mundane. Sometimes it feels like I'm doing the same thing. And sometimes it even feels like I'm saying the same things in different ways. And I talked about that earlier in this episode when I said that sometimes we need to hear things several different times before it finally kind of clicks and we go, oh, yeah, she said that before. And she said that before. And she even said that before. And it didn't hit this way, right? It didn't click the way that it finally clicks. And now I'm like, okay, she's right. I need to do this way. So we are working that foundation in so that we can start to build on a solid foundation, the life that we love, the life of our dreams. And I am so excited for it. I am going to talk to you guys later on this week about the groups. I have the groups back up and running. I will drop the link to get into the groups in this description. I'm going to add it to all of the descriptions now because we are back up and running. We got all of the backup stuff, whatever, taken care of. So, and like I said, starting in February, we are going to get deep into the stuff, and that's going to include a lot of the paid groups. So you're going to want to get into the free groups so that you can learn all about the paid groups so that you can take advantage of what you really want to take advantage of, and we can make 2026 the most amazing year ever. Have a good one. Bye.